It's late. I'm doing my usual, sitting in bed long past the time I need to be asleep, scrolling mindlessly through TikTok. It's a bad habit, I know, but you're here watching YouTube, right? I lazily flick the last watched video away. A cat wearing a helmet fashioned out of a melon, and a live feed takes its place. It's dark, with torches or headlamps making almost a strobing effect in some crusty old building. Ghost hunters or something like that. Not my thing. I raise my finger to scroll again, but at the last second something catches my eye that stops me dead. The camera pans past a black and white framed photograph on the wall. It's my grandparents on their wedding day. I sit stock still, watching intently as the camera moves forward. I would recognize that photo anywhere, having examined it countless times as a child visiting their farmhouse. It was my favorite picture out of any hanging on their walls. This TikToker couldn't be in my grandparents' old farm, surely. It was true it had been left to fall into a state of disrepair after their passing. I look at their handle, aband0 netexpl 0 rare 305. I make a mental note to click on their page and see where else they have been, but for now cannot bring myself to look away from this feed, in case it disappears forever. They move further into the living room. A leather armchair, well worn in its day, but now the cushions were sunken in and the fabric torn beyond repair. The fireplace, exposed stone, and an enormous oak mantel, once the impressive focal point of the room, now warped and cracked. The lucky horseshoes that had hung from it litter the hearth, dull and lifeless. They had always been pride of place over the fire, polished and would glint in the firelight of an evening. The person holding the camera is speaking. I'd hardly noticed as I was so wrapped up in a cloud of nostalgia and outrage at this space being invaded. There's so many horseshoes around here, he was saying. They're over door thresholds. There was one laid into the kitchen floor, and these ones look like they used to hang over the fireplace. Now I know this is a farm and they probably did have horses, but they are just everywhere. Now everyone knows horseshoes are known as a good luck charm, but unless you're into your folklore you might not know that they also ward off evil spirits. I roll my eyes. Common knowledge. Another TikToker claiming to be an expert on the paranormal. His observation does set off a small prickle on the back of my neck though. There were a lot of horseshoes at the farm. I tuck that bit of knowledge away for future reference. Many years ago they had horses, but since the advent of modern tractors and farming methods they were not needed, and neither Granny nor Grandpa had any great love for horses that I was aware of. Granny had always been a tad superstitious though. Horseshoes, lucky heather, 4-leaf clovers, that sort of thing. For the most part, I loved going to stay at Granny and Grandpa's when I was small. Apart from going to the bathroom alone. The only bathroom was upstairs, at the furthest end of the house from the kitchen or living room. To a kid it felt like an epic journey. Going up wasn't so bad. Once the door from the living room shut you would find yourself in the cool, quiet passageway, all sounds of life muffled by the thick wood. The air was so still you could hear a pin drop. You'd walk along then turn back 180 degrees to go up the stairs. The upstairs landing was split on 2 levels, so you'd step down onto the back landing then take a right to get to the bathroom. It was going back down that was the problem. Since I was old enough to go to the bathroom unaccompanied, once I turned that corner and got to the top of the stairs, a feeling would hit, like an icy finger in the small of your back. Run. I would run down the stairs and back to the kitchen as quickly as my little legs could carry me. More than that, it was imperative that at no point did I turn and look back up at that landing. Bad things would happen if I looked back. As a child I couldn't really express these feelings, but now as I remember it, it felt like a creeping black mass seeping out of the walls of that back landing, coalescing, and all it would take to give it a corporeal form would be a terrified look back from a fleeing child. Then I would heave open the wooden door and it felt like all the color suddenly seeped back into the world, the warmth and noise of a busy family home flooding my senses. Like pressing play and the film restarts where it left off. In the live camera feed, they approach that solid oak door. It's hanging on one hinge, slightly ajar and swaying almost imperceptibly. I notice before the cameraman says aloud that there is a large cast iron horseshoe, big enough for a Shire horse or a Clydesdale, nailed above the threshold that I don't remember, but it suddenly feels important. Like a talisman thrown up in a last-ditch effort to stop something. I grip my phone harder with a clammy hand, positive that they should not go deeper into the bowels of this house. I look at the comments flashing up. It's so creepy. Seriously bad vibes. Did anyone else just see a shadow? With a shaky hand I start typing a comment, telling them not to go in there, to just leave. As if they will listen to me. Just another voice in the throng. In my peripheral vision as I'm typing I can see the guy push open the door which gives way with a creak, and just as I'm about to press send I hear his sharp intake of breath. What the? I hear him whisper. I drop my phone onto the bed in shock. Standing side by side in the passageway are two gaunt figures dressed in nightgowns. They wear preternaturally wide grins which stretch their papery gray skin taut. Where their eyes belong are only dark pits. What could be boreholes straight into the inky depths of hell itself. Somehow worse than that, Granny and Grandpa were holding hands. It was unmistakably them despite their demonic manifestation. Though it's only a second, it feels like I stare into those twisted faces for half an eternity. All hell breaks loose on camera. Aband 0 net expl 0 rare 305 turns on his heel and runs back the way he came. The camera work falls into disarray as he bolts for the exit, but I swear in that fraction of the second as his phone whips around, the creepily wide grins on their faces twists into a grisly snarl. I am transfixed by my phone screen, listening to the TikTok guy's heavy breathing and watching the torch flit around on screen, lighting up walls and floors at random as he makes a break for it. He's close to the back door as long as he doesn't turn the wrong way. 5 or 6 more paces and he'll be out. Then shockingly loud on the little phone speakers is an ungodly screech which makes me jump about a foot off my bed. Live has ended. The feed has just gone. I tap the screen futilely. Nothing. Did he make it out? I search for his handle on the app and nothing comes up. I sit for a long time just staring into space, heart thumping. I should have commented sooner. As soon as I realized they were in that house, maybe that would have stopped them going any further. A notification pops up on my phone. A direct message on TikTok. Strangely, there's no account name with the message. Come to us. Very direct. No ambiguity there. I sigh and reach for a notebook from my bedside table to cross the latest attempt off the list. Communication with the undead via the internet is a new development. An extra deep grave didn't do the trick. Rocks in their mouths, black salt, holy water from lords, a stake through the heart. Nothing keeps these two restless souls in their grave for long. We don't know if it's the land itself, a curse upon the family, or something else. Did they see that black thing I was so afraid of as a kid? Was that the reason, or a symptom? I glance down the list of things yet to try. Next up, decapitation of the corpses. I don't relish the thought of that one. I fire off a quick text to my brother. Trouble at mill. That's the code. Code 4, get your shovel. We're off to dig up our old granny and grandpa again to see if we can finally get them to rest in peace like you're supposed to. The problem is, each time we try to end this and fail, every time they come back they are more changed than before. The last time they climbed out of that grave they looked like themselves, only dead. Upsetting but to be expected. The nightmarish figures I have seen tonight were a world away from that. I worry we are giving them power, feeding them somehow. But we can't just let them roam free, especially when other people get caught in the crossfire. I think this is going to require some outside help.